By the way, that bow was my first poem. I'll be like, I was plotting the poem. One night I went out into a field to stare at the darkened sky. And as I took in all that my finite mind could comprehend, I looked to the moon and it reminded me of her, traveling alone, giving the impression that she is close enough to touch, knowing she will always be just out of my reach. And I've never been one to take to such foolish notions, yet without rhyme, reason, or hesitation, I make a prideful declaration of her stated divinity. For her beauty can only be described as reflecting the luminous essence of something unearthly. Oh, her hair is the countless scripture from holy books. When blowing in the wind, they whisper revelations of the virginity of my existence. And in her eyes, that sparkle like radiant stars from solar systems unknown, I see the stories of martyrs that have tried to love her before me. And her body, oh God, her body is a tabernacle, where even her outer courts cause men to tremble in holy reverence. And this gives me reason to throw off the beaten path, distancing myself from the ambient glow of naive streetlights, wasting their efforts, trying to distract me from the wonders of earth, with temporal flickers of passion and a false sense of a heavenly connection. But they cannot bewitch me with such adolescent illusions. They sing to me shallow songs of celebration, but I refuse to dance. They drone out dead-spirited funeral dirges, but not a single tear will fall to the ground. They're enticing, it's true, but they will never compare to her. But if I play the role of a heartatress saint, it's only because she has yet to see that we are the same. Though my feet are firmly affixed to this earth, my spirit has traversed celestial highways, conversing with the ancients as they warn me of tumultuous times ahead. And I know that I may seem as if I'm simply the flesh of men, but inside me is a creature of light, a star that still burns for the passion of its lover. And I am merely at 31 years old, but I carry with me the memories of a galaxy still in its infancy. Most importantly, I remember the night it all came to an end. It was dusk, and she was in full splendor. I must admit, she never looked as captivating as that moment. And so I went out to find her an acceptable sacrifice to my affections. I wrapped myself in an earthen vessel and left her to travel alone. I never would have left if I would have known that it would separate me from eternal grace. So now, when the moon is closest to the earth, looking as if the two may possibly collide, step out into a field, stare at the darkened sky, gaze at the moon, and remember her. This next one is very near and dear to me. So near and dear to me that it's actually on my ribcage. It's one that I wrote for my mom, one of the first poems I wrote after she passed. And she used to sing a song to us when I was a kid, every night before going to bed. So, not a singer as some of you are, but here's my shot at it. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. I hate to leave you, but I really must say good night, sweetheart. Good night. Good night, sweetheart. Kiss the stars and bid a fond farewell. Time with you has been time cherished, but now it's just time waiting. I guess it was time for you to kiss this pain goodbye. Just know that you were loved, and your love changed me forever. So good night, sweetheart. Kiss the stars and bid a fond farewell. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. I hate to leave you, but I really must say good night, sweetheart. Good night. Thank you. You guys don't mind I have one more thing. By the way, bitch, kill my vibe. I love this place. You guys are awesome. I only see it getting better. It's gonna get so much better. It's so good. I'm sad I was here for the first one.
So good.
I wrote this one morning sitting outside the Baptist hospital. Day breaks, and my heart is the most fragile it's been in years. Slowly it begins to crack as the sun caresses the tips of the horizons, painting expressive shades of pink, orange, and purple. While despair and uncertainty were drawn in the lines of my brow. You see, these tear-stained eyes make it hard for me to see the silver lining in scattered clouds. While holding off these paralyzing emotions are as futile as a night trying to hold off the dawn. But still I find a way for the darkness in me to consume any evidence of anguish over this tragedy. The chill in the air is only a whisper of truth, too frigid for us to face without wincing. So we cover ourselves in blankets of warm memories, ever certain that nothing will ever be the same. For our heroine has finally succumbed to the crippling villain of time. A once immovable pillar is now a frail figure, barely resembling her former glory. And the hourglass has stopped. As we sit in crowded solitude, awaiting the pronouncement of her fate, the city begins to bustle in the background, causing us to reflect on our neglect of this living saint. Most of all, I, the prodigal grandson, still distant, selfishly proclaiming that it's the only way for me to stay sane. And the dew settles on the grass as fears settle on the surface of our expressions. And so I slip away into the fading shadows of day to break down and recompose in wide open secrecy. But to our relief, she has rejected the starry dynamo of eternity and awakened to see the sun again. The loving guide is still with us, but now lives in the dawn, existing somewhere between the solitude of her mind and the chaos of day. And in passing we meet, she says to me with such earnesty, "'Tis the end of my beautiful girls." Yes, Grandma, 'tis the end of your beautiful girls. Indeed.
Up next is John Ward. Somewhere in there.
Woo, Johnny! Look at that beautiful.
How do I follow that? I feel like you do that to spite you.
I wasn't the one who put my name before yours.
I did poems are a lot more selfish. I'm a selfish, spiteful child. This one doesn't have a title, but it should be called, run-of-the-mill love poem. Slowly crowing, the needles that form her eyes, dripping, seeing themselves and fixed from my soft tendrils, which bounce off her bulwark yet to fix my skin, stuck against a nest, a cage where my remains to see, feel, smell, ghost. I saw it once, embroidered in my skin. It's true. I lost a notebook today, so a lot of the newer ones that I wanted to, yeah, you know the pain. A lot of my newer ones were lost. But I brought a bunch of my older ones that I haven't read in a while. Hopefully you guys forgot about them already, so you'll thoroughly enjoy this. This one doesn't have a title. I'm really bad at writing titles. Most of them don't have titles. The fibrous course to grab specks upon wretched walls, wary of those wanton shapes whom grabbed them, until the nails bleed out, more words than those which hide among these fibers. And the airwaves diminish when they reach your ears. A shoreline of cement, I declare. I do no prize. But back to these nails, which burrow deep within every inflection, and who would coil among such a feathered environment? These words destined to crack and bounce back to refill the vessel from whom they originated. The vessel losing each illumination of context with every projection. It stomps and howls internally with each reach, wreaking havoc upon an already woeful, wanted vessel. Each sound drew upon an audible, a ripple, a moment, within it containing folds of infinity, wet clay, which, in its innocence, seeks warm hands and nails to carve out patterns. And even when these projections are powered by loose cynicism, perpetuating an already tedious projection, the collective drowns every time I cry out, and they don't reach her. Her, a portrait painted over and overhead, due to nurture that projection. But what of this tedium? I see it a medium for this fulmination, a flowery permutation, so nearly vindicating this caterwaul, born from ethanol to Dimer Spectre, a collector of projections which it despises, and eventually realizes there exists no morphology to stitch to this anthology of palaver. It sings to itself forever. Yeah! I'm normally drunk when I do this, so I'm a little nervous. This one's called Thrusting Towards Vacuums, Waving Affection. And it's about exactly, it sounds like it's about.
What is it? What is it?
Shh. You ruined everything! Shh. Wait for them to talk. Shh. All right.
Let's take a quick intermission as people enter the building really quick.
Momentary as it was felt. Across caught and fragmented, birthing shadows that seem more lively. A prose filled out of that slate, given a gift of direction at the cost of its soul, longing to peer towards earth, towards you. Someday, at others, developing love sickness, coughing tendrils, grabbing at these gaping wounds, so as to retain a figure hidden there. Such a fruitless endeavor. Such beauty never ended, pasted upon a wasteland, a cursed configuration existing at the precipice of mother. It hoped, as its wont, to hate all difficult affection, like beauty, a cross caught and fragmented, perhaps birthing a shade that stands at last. Woo! feels forced at times, but it's called penetrance. Penetrance. Penetrance.
Wait, what did you say?
Penetrance?
Penetrate?
Like to penetrate. Penetrance.
It's
It's a word.
Alright, never mind.
Just data penetration of
Beckoned me, a dull patron, upon polyester spines I lay. Such soft interactions place a sea of incidents by which the architects pray. Allow it so an examination of loving motives that crawl along spines to cleave the base of her neck. What spills out is an ocean, a loving kiss, a hoax, a wreckage of an incident that relates, a calling of speaker fragments, all the pieces to spill out canvas. Upon whispers these ears attend, angled in a blackened sea, learning detrimental geometry to spill out canvas yet to mend. And farther do these speakers go, these maws recruiting pins, feigning comfort fixed in satin, and further do the words flow, fodder for the weaker hearts, those who pull these fibers apart, feeding back to these words they grow, directing towards a governing lattice, and oh, what loving worship went into this apparatus, determined it scoffs at eager children's, it bellows. As it nods and punctures puppeteers, tearing at moths, whom reach, beseech comfort in the form of a coil, calling, crawling along a loveless spawn, forever longing the abyssal ocean upon which she'll lie and tear no longer. And how I long to see her glow, yet such a gloomy state I detest, in spite of an addiction to the seething flow. So for her I construct another set, upon which she may rest, upon which she'll lie and tear no longer. So I may dry my own eyes, so I may stare back into hers, ever abysmal. I long to tear at this portrait no longer.
Isn't that confusing? Penetrance?
Penetrance.
That's sweet, that's not.
Funny because this next poem is called Penetrance.
You don't miss it.
I just have confused with
This next one I wrote recently in my new notebook. First page. I don't really like it. But it's sort of about, I get a little scientific sometimes. It's about the second law of thermodynamics and how I feel about it.
So, energy is not created for law, is it?
The second law of thermodynamics is that all energy is trying to go to a more stable state, or less useful. Do you not like science? I know you like science.
They come here.
I am the ebony joy, a blackberry soaking in a wine glass, or maybe a second coat, the preserver. Either way, I'm quite dense from years of pressure, cooked and processed. It's a wonder my blood flows at all, as a ladder bearer, son of the ladder. I equal my outside as little as possible, because I'm frightened. I'm a collection of gradients crossing barriers, and I'm frightened of rejection by the great wave as it crashes and turns into a rushing shoreline, a receding shoreline. To crush and recede. It's almost like it's a puppet. That was my favorite part of the video.
Oh, yeah.
That was the end. I have one more. Thank God. And that's the title. I'm a valiant wound upon the short end of my name, a crest held high for manifested value. Retort lives on within an abstract, a self-portrait, a collective of selected worldviews, stitched lovingly so as to sate the beast. as it cannot be purged. Oh, but lovingly I stitched to that idol, leaking out gray matter upon paper, glossed paper. We'll see how volatile this substance is. A beast performed vivisection upon beast, staring blankly at those notes it hums, derivatives of 4/4, reconstruction of dissected components. It's just like me to create the beauty there embedded in what is perceived a void. I am a valiant womb sewn back to a hummingbird's nest, ever permeating a night sky with false beauty, as I stare at my feet and the traces I leave there, to be shadowed by elephant tusks severed, to be washed away by cerulean landlocked. Me, a plunge toward the dedicated, only to fall into that vat and warp myself. A reflection I saw there, a valiant wound upon the short end of my name. I call myself as it all blurs out, but it no longer matters, as I learn futility over and over again. But this wasn't for me.
Let's hear it for John Worth. Thank you. Now someone has to say, actually Anthony.
No, that's not. That was a joke.
Come on.
That was No,
Oh, it's Nate.
it's actually Nate.
It's actually Nate. It's actually you.
It's Nate.
Okay.
Nate over there.
Is it one of you?
It's Rebecca. Rebecca wants to sing.
It's getting awkward.
It is awkward. A bit awkward. It's alright.
Okay, well I guess since no one else is gonna go, I'll go. Me and Monica and I, we wrote the call and response poem for this beautiful sunshine city. Hope you enjoy it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. It's called, it's really good. It's not that bad. 1. Oppression. Amid the warm entrails of squalor, we are formerly amphibious creatures carrying water in our bones. We are dead frogs at the bottom of a pool, wanting to eat dirt, wanting to grow. Yet all we do is age, faking the blind excitement of change. 2. Release. When we met, I wanted to stick my finger in the pit of your fruit. I wanted to leave a handprint in your mud and weave my fungus through your grass. To see your heat glowing through pollution-dotted lines and listen to the traffic whine, to the roosters crying at the wrong time. None of the charm of a hot day elsewhere. Only more or less hot than before. Morally starving our basic right for introspection. 3. Wind. Jealousy windows open their paneled jaws, spreading with ribs from a palm leaf, breathing in the warmth and choking. In a desperate attempt to climb out of your star-spangled neck, I swallow your water until everything swells and dilates. Your mouth fills my air, I touch the rosy opening. Poor lungs, poor liver, rich nothing, praying for awful in a drunken termite sleep, swimming beneath imposter night visions, buoyed by forced extroversions. The offering of toxins degrades me, with both regret and remembrance of where I am. 4. Wind. You are overheated and sticky, holding secrets, proud and fearful of your past, forming an identity as you wash it away. From your liver-spotted wealth, we take it. We take it all to the ocean to bear the fruits of our theft. Though there is nowhere here where corruption is. No, it's really been
It's made me really nervous. I've never done this before, and also I've been spending a lot of time at church getting drunk, so I wrote this there. And I've been obviously thinking a lot about change and gentrification, and I wrote this actually about New York. And I can't see anything without these. So bear with it because I was drunk when I wrote this. I sat in the dark of the village in the dusk of the afternoon at a theater, listening to a photo of older than me, with a curl of her lip and a twinkle in her eye, reminding me of the fault lines of generations who forget, and those who fight, and those who were destroyed and maimed, but kept speaking, and those who were killed. And the next day, I sat and listened to half of the howl in a park and realized I never understood. That was also done at Churchill's on another night, drunk. And it's very short, and it's not quite right, but it's, once was a place to break glass with sound, and now we're to let the curiosities play.
Thank you. Anybody else have any balls? Feel like reading? I see a lot of empty slots here. I think Rob wants to read. I see that a lot. Rob, you want to read? Yeah. Come up here, Rob. Everyone, give a hand for Rob.
Yeah.
You don't say Rob.
Yeah, what about it?
How's everybody? Great. So I'm not very well organized today. In a lot of ways.
So, is this better?
Or is this better?
No, it's hard to find.
Whatever. Come on, back.
right there, in the middle.
Okay. This is from a thing that I wrote. It's a passage from it. It's called "My Time is Water Down a Drain." She was in the waiting room, a huge one with many people, and she caught sight of a man missing half his face. It was the left side. It was entirely gone. No left eye, not even an eye socket. No nose, and only part of his mouth. It definitely wasn't because of a fire, you could just tell. And his wife, plainly and beautifully blonde, seemed pretty depressed about it. He turned to her and said, "You know, it's just something I gotta face." She sighed and slumped, her eyes bouncing up at the people who were now looking. He leaned closer into her. "At least I'm not two-faced." And to this, she giggled. That's it.
Rob's done. Is anyone else want to read? Nico wants to read. Nico? Thanks, Nico.
This is in the zine that John Worthy puts here, man. And it's also part of that thing. A memoir of destruction, confusion. The seed is piling up, black muck and goo, profoundly putrid. It burns the soul before the nose. Viscous oils, The viscous oils of my filth are seeping out of my pores, gushing out from under my eyes and screaming out of my earholes. You can't hide it any longer. Stop lying to yourself. Look how dirty you are, you know it. You vile beast. Your filth weighs you down, burdens your feet with a miserable drag. Pathetic to sound the ears that scoff at the scuff of frictional souls. Cringe after cringe, the cartilage of your essence rubs away. You feel the pain in your nerves, violently trickling up into your soul, like the old days of true sentiment and feeling, when the same violence was once beautiful in your own green and innocent eyes. Now you wish you could be slapped back into consciousness. You're begging for a good blow to the face, that frantic knock of bone-to-bone collision to wake you back up, a desperate breath. But even a truck wouldn't wake you up. At least you feel that way, because you wear a spiritual helmet. Didn't you know? I still have to tell you, it's under your skull and above your brain, a thick film lining your brain, firm to the touch, physically impenetrable, but spiritually soluble. It grasps itself to your brain like a vicious plant raping the soul for nutrients. It feeds from your essence, gulping away your last precious trickling moments of life. The more it grows, the more you'll die. Put your hand on your head. Go on, do it. You feel that? It's heat. That's your dying fever. But this heat is not conductive of the entropic spirit of all things. Now you'll laugh for the paranormal, spiritual impotence. Paranormal, as all other human idiosyncrasies. Humans are so interesting. Hosts to thieves, hosts to aimlessness. The most representative characteristic to the human psyche. The mind, the forest, stagnant in darkness, confusion, hesitance, singularities. Confusion is in your sight, practically be lost without it. Sit upon the surrealist throne like a warm acquaintance, coldly acknowledging you, but the seat trembles, and dissolves away like the ground beneath your feet. At the tip of your toes and the bones in your legs, you will die and break down into the metabolic pool of life. And as you wither away, you'll be recycled to revisit your miseries. But not as something else, but as the same being, resaturated in the gaseous labyrinth of life. Escape. Please escape. Nothingness with the hindsight of everything.
Take an intermission because I'm sorry. Oh, let's read it. Alright, so if there are like song lyrics, poetry, it's kind of retreat. I felt like I deserved to be sick, so I pretended to die. Can you taste the hot tongue of this complicated pie? You're like a sucker fish on my third eye, and for some reason I don't want you to know that behind this arrow is a bow. I'm a lamb, you're a jaguar, a sacrifice waiting to be set on fire. Like sandals in hell, helping himself to her bad dreams, a magnet to possess and cling, and undress, and distress, and paint the mattress with me, and it's always dirty, pretty filthy.
I probably don't need the mic to say this, but does anybody else want to read?
There's some I was going to
I'm like really loud. This is like a super tiny poem. I don't even know if it's a poem. It's the only one I know by heart. So, yeah. I hate Facebook, but I like your face. It's an awful predicament.